They said her name in whispers that morning, the kind reserved for people already half gone. The city's most powerful CEO lay motionless beneath bright hospital lights, machines breathing for her, monitors counting down fragile seconds. Doctors moved with urgency but little hope. Outside the glass walls, the skyline shimmered in daylight, unaware that the woman who built half of it might never see another sunrise. Everyone believed this was the end of Arisha Vale's story. Everyone, except fate. If you believe that kindness can change lives, that second chances exist even when hope feels lost, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Touch. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Arisha Vale had risen from nothing. She was the youngest CEO in the city's history, a woman who broke ceilings and rules with the same sharp precision. Her days were filled with boardrooms, glass towers, and relentless pressure. She trusted numbers more than people, strategies more than emotions. Life to her was about control. That illusion shattered on an ordinary daytime drive when her vision blurred, pain tore through her chest, and her car drifted to a stop in the middle of traffic. Within minutes, sirens filled the air, and within hours she lay unconscious, her life hanging by a thread. The diagnosis was brutal and fast. A rare blood disorder had gone undetected for years, silently weakening her body. She needed an immediate transfusion with an extremely rare blood type, one that matched not just her blood group, but a unique antibody profile. The hospital launched an urgent search, calling registries, neighboring cities, even the military. Time slipped by with cruel indifference as sunlight moved across the floor of the ICU. Miles away, in a modest neighborhood soaked in afternoon light, Kaveh Rayan was folding laundry with one eye on the clock and the other on his young son. Life had not been kind to him, but it had made him gentle. Widowed at 29, he had learned how to braid hair, pack lunches, and hide his own grief so his child could smile. He worked days as a delivery supervisor and donated blood whenever he could, not out of heroism, but habit. His late wife had believed that giving blood was giving time to someone you'd never meet. That afternoon, Kaveh received a call he almost ignored. Unknown number. He answered while wiping his hands on a towel, expecting spam. Instead, he heard urgency, a hospital coordinator explaining that his blood type matched a critical case. They asked if he could come immediately. He looked at his son playing on the floor, sunlight warming the small room, and felt the weight of a choice that didn't feel like a choice at all. He called a neighbor, grabbed his jacket, and drove straight to the hospital. The corridors were bright with daytime bustle, but tension hung thick near the ICU. Kaveh signed forms he barely read, his mind quiet but resolute. He didn't know who the patient was. He only knew someone needed help. As nurses prepped him, he felt a flicker of fear, then remembered his wife's smile whenever she donated. That memory steadied him. Within an hour, his blood flowed into clear tubes, carried toward a woman whose life intersected with his in the most improbable way. Arisha's condition stabilized slowly, almost reluctantly. Doctors watched the monitors with cautious disbelief as her vitals improved. The transfusion worked. The rare match had arrived just in time. By late afternoon, color returned to her face and her breathing eased. No one celebrated yet, but hope crept back into the room like light after a storm. Kaveh left quietly, dizzy but relieved. He returned home to make dinner, help with homework, and tuck his son into bed. He never imagined that his blood had saved the CEO, whose name dominated headlines, nor that this act would unravel the carefully guarded walls around her heart. Days later, Arisha woke to daylight filtering through blinds, her body weak but alive. Confusion gave way to understanding as doctors explained how close she had come to dying. One detail lingered in her mind more than any medical term: a single donor had made the difference. One person, a stranger, had given her another chance at life. For the first time in years, Arisha felt something unfamiliar and unsettling. Gratitude, mixed with humility. She asked to know who he was. Hospital policy made it complicated, but Arisha was persistent. not with power or threats, but with patience she didn't know she possessed. When she finally received Kaveh's name and a brief note describing him as a single father, something shifted inside her. The word single echoed louder than CEO, louder than survival. Someone with so little had given so much. Their first meeting happened in daylight at the hospital cafeteria weeks later. Kaveh arrived nervous, dressed simply, unsure why someone like her would want to see him. Arisha arrived without assistance, without the armor of status, still pale but determined. The space between them was filled with sunlight and an awkward silence that felt strangely comfortable. She studied him, not as a benefactor or a hero, but as a human being whose kindness had rewritten her fate. From that day, their lives began to overlap in quiet, unexpected ways. Arisha insisted on understanding his world, not from reports or charity galas, but by seeing it. She visited community centers he supported, watched him coach children's games in the afternoon sun, and saw how effortlessly he put his son first. Each moment chipped away at the rigid structure she had built around herself. For Kaveh, Arisha represented a world he had never touched. He was wary at first, afraid of imbalance, of gratitude turning into obligation. But Arisha never treated him like a savior. She listened. She learned. She shared pieces of her own loneliness, the cost of climbing so high that no one waited for you at the top. Their connection grew not from romance, but from recognition. Two people shaped by loss, meeting at the crossroads of chance and choice. Challenges didn't disappear. The media sniffed around, speculating about the CEO's sudden interest in social causes. Board members questioned her priorities as she shifted company resources toward healthcare access and donor awareness. Kaveh struggled with the fear of bringing someone powerful into his child's quiet life. Old wounds surfaced, doubts whispered, but each time they returned to the truth that bound them. One life saved another, and in doing so, both had been changed. Arisha's recovery was slow but determined. She returned to work in daylight hours, no longer chasing endless nights. She redefined success, not as expansion, but as impact. Kaveh watched her fight battles he never saw, with the same resilience he used every day. Respect deepened into something warmer, something neither rushed nor forced. One afternoon, as sunlight poured over a city park, Arisha sat on a bench, watching Kaveh's son laugh freely. In that moment, surrounded by ordinary joy, she realized the greatest gift she had received wasn't survival. It was perspective. Blood had saved her body, but kindness had awakened her heart. Near the end of that summer, Arisha organized a daytime blood donation drive in the city square, not branded with her company's name, but with stories. Stories of strangers saving strangers. Kaveh stood beside her, anonymous yet proud, holding his son's hand. The line of donors stretched longer than expected, sunlight glinting off hope and possibility. As the crowd gathered, Arisha felt the weight of her journey settle into something peaceful. She had nearly died surrounded by wealth and power, yet truly lived because of one selfless act from a man who expected nothing in return. Love, she learned, didn't arrive with fireworks. It arrived quietly, like a steady heartbeat returning after chaos. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness still exists in a busy, broken world, please take a moment now to like, share, and engage with this video. Your support helps these stories reach those who need them most. Special request: before this video ends, please comment one word that describes how this story made you feel. In the end, they were wrong. The CEO survived. But more importantly, she learned how to live. And the single dad who gave his blood never lost anything that day. He gained a future shaped by compassion, connection, and a love born not from power or privilege, but from the simple, extraordinary act of saving a life.